The Indiana Fever are heading into another important Eastern Conference matchup, and this one comes at a moment where the team is trying to turn momentum into consistency. Indiana enters Saturday's game with a 7-5 record overall and a 3-2 mark in Eastern Conference play, while the Connecticut Sun come in at 2-12 overall and still searching for their first win against Eastern Conference opponents. On paper, this looks like a game the Fever should be able to control, but in the WNBA, especially on the road, nothing is automatic. The Fever will visit the Sun in Uncasville, Connecticut, with tip-off scheduled for Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern. And for Indiana, this matchup arrives right after one of the most exciting wins of its season. The Fever are coming off a 114-106 overtime victory over the Chicago Sky, a game that brought drama, big scoring, pressure moments, and another reminder that Indiana's star duo can completely take over when the offense is flowing. Aaliyah Boston was the headline performer in that overtime win. She finished with 34 points, putting together one of the best defensive games of her career and giving the Fever exactly what they needed inside. Boston's performance was not just about scoring either. It showed how dangerous Indiana can become when she is aggressive, confident, and getting touches in the right spots. When Boston is establishing herself in the paint, finishing through contact, and forcing defenses to collapse, it opens the entire floor for the Fever. That is what makes this Indiana team so interesting right now. The Fever are no longer relying only on one source of offense. Caitlin Clark is still the player who drives so much of the attention and controls the rhythm. But Boston's growth gives Indiana a second star-level presence that opponents must respect. Against Chicago, that balance made the Fever difficult to defend for long stretches. And now, against a struggling Connecticut team, Indiana has a real opportunity to build on that same formula. The Sun enter this game at the bottom of the standings, and their numbers show why it has been such a tough start. Connecticut is 0-5 in Eastern Conference play and has been giving up 89.4 points per game. Even more concerning for the Sun, they have been outscored by an average of 11.3 points per contest. That kind of scoring gap tells the larger picture. Connecticut has had trouble keeping games close, and when opponents go on runs, the Sun have not consistently found answers on either end of the floor. Offensively, Connecticut is averaging 78.1 points per game. That is not enough when the defense is allowing nearly 90 on the other side. The Sun are scoring 9.2 fewer points per game than the 87.3 points Indiana gives up. So the question for Connecticut is simple. Can they produce enough offense to keep up with a Fever team that has been much more dangerous recently? If they cannot, this game could get away from them quickly. Indiana, meanwhile, is averaging 90.3 points per game, which is slightly higher than the 89.4 points Connecticut allows. That may not sound like a huge difference, but it matters because the Fever's offense has multiple ways to hurt teams. They can push pace through Caitlin Clark. They can attack inside with Aaliyah Boston. They can get scoring from Kelsey Mitchell. They can create open looks through ball movement and spacing. When Indiana is connected, the Fever can score in bunches, and Connecticut has not shown enough defensive stability to feel comfortable against that kind of attack. This will be the first meeting of the season between the Fever and the Sun, and the timing gives Indiana a clear chance to make statement. The Fever have been good enough to win games lately, but they're still trying to show they can put together complete performances. That is the next step for a team that wants to be taken seriously beyond just the excitement around its stars. Winning close games matters, but learning how to control a game from start to finish matters just as much. That is where this matchup becomes important. Connecticut has struggled, but Indiana cannot treat the Sun like an easy opponent. The Fever have to respect the game, respect the road environment, and come in with the right level of focus. Teams with losing records can still create problems, especially if the favored team starts slow or gets careless. Indiana has had moments this season where leads have slipped away and defensive focus has disappeared. Against a team like Connecticut, the Fever need to avoid giving the Sun confidence early. For Connecticut, one of the key players to watch is Anissa Morrow. She has been a strong presence for the Sun, averaging 12.3 points and 10.9 rebounds. Those numbers matter because rebounding is one area where Connecticut can try to keep itself competitive. If Morrow can control the glass, create second-chance opportunities, and make Indiana work physically inside, the Sun may have a path to slowing the game down. Connecticut needs that kind of interior effort if it wants to stay close. Diamond Miller is another name to watch. She has averaged 8.4 points over the last 10 games, and Connecticut will need contributions from players like her if it wants to challenge Indiana. The Sun cannot rely on one or two players alone. They need balanced scoring, better shot selection, and enough defensive pressure to make the Fever uncomfortable. If the Sun allow Indiana to get into rhythm early, it could become a long night. On the Indiana side, everything starts with Caitlin Clark. Clark is averaging 19.9 points and 7.9 assists. And those numbers show exactly why she is one of the most important offensive engines in the league. She is not just a scorer. She is not just a passer. She is the player who sets the tone for Indiana's offense. When she has the ball, every defender has to make a decision. Step up too high, and she can attack or find a teammate. Give her space, and she can shoot from deep. Send extra pressure, and she can move the ball to create an advantage somewhere else. That is what makes Clark such a difficult matchup for Connecticut. The Sun have already been giving up a lot of points, and now they have to deal with a guard who can create offense in so many ways. Clark's ability to pass ahead in transition, run pick-and-roll actions, and find shooters makes Indiana dangerous even when she is not taking the shot herself. If Connecticut focuses too much on stopping her scoring, she can punish them with assists. If they stay home on shooters, she can attack as a scorer. Kelsey Mitchell is also in strong form for the Fever. Over the past 10 games, she is averaging 19.2 points while shooting 44.4% from the field. That is huge for Indiana because Mitchell gives the Fever another reliable scoring option on the perimeter. Defenses already have to worry about Clark's range and Boston's inside presence, and Mitchell adds another layer of pressure. When she is scoring efficiently, opponents cannot load up on Clark as aggressively. That spacing and balance make Indiana much harder to guard. The last 10 games show the difference between these two teams clearly. Connecticut has gone 2-8 during that stretch, averaging 77.3 points, 34.3 rebounds, 17.8 assists, 8.3 steals, and 4.9 blocks per game, while shooting 43.3% from the field. Those numbers show some effort and defensive activity, especially with steals and blocks, but the scoring has not been enough. Their opponents have averaged 85.8 points per game over that same stretch, and that gap has continued to hurt them. Indiana, on the other hand, is 6-4 over its last 10 games. The Fever are averaging 89.3 points, 34.7 rebounds, 20.6 assists, 7.0 steals, and 4.7 blocks per game, while shooting 43.4% from the field. The assist number stands out because it shows the Fever are moving the ball and creating offense through team action. Indiana's opponents have averaged 86.3 points in those games, so the Fever still have defensive work to do, but their offensive production has helped cover some of those issues. That is the big difference in this matchup. Both teams give up points, but Indiana has been much better at producing enough offense to survive those defensive gaps. Connecticut has not. If the Sun want to change that, they need a more efficient offensive performance than they have been getting recently. They cannot afford long scoring droughts against a Fever team that can heat up quickly. The injury report also adds some uncertainty. For Connecticut, Haley Van Lith is listed as day-to-day with an ankle issue, Brittany Griner is day-to-day with a rib issue, and Anissa Morrow is day-to-day with a leg issue. Those are important names because the Sun are already thin in terms of consistent production. If any of those players are limited or unavailable, Connecticut's challenge becomes even tougher. For Indiana, Sophie Cunningham is listed as day-to-day with an elbow issue. Her status matters because she brings toughness, energy, and another perimeter presence for the Fever. Health could play a major role in how this game unfolds. If Connecticut is missing key frontcourt pieces, or if Morrow is not fully healthy, Boston could have a major opportunity to dominate inside again. After scoring 34 against Chicago, Boston should come into this matchup with confidence. Indiana would be wise to establish her early, test Connecticut's interior defense, and force the Sun to adjust. At the same time, Indiana cannot become too comfortable. The Fever have a 3-5 record against teams over .500, which shows they still have to prove themselves against stronger competition. But against teams below them in the standings, they need to handle business. That is what playoff-caliber teams do. They do not simply rise for big matchups. They also take care of games they are expected to win. This matchup gives Indiana a chance to show maturity. The Fever do not need a wild overtime finish. They do not need late-game chaos. They need a clean performance, strong ball movement, disciplined defense, and smart execution. If Clark controls the tempo, if Boston gets touches inside, and if Mitchell continues scoring efficiently, Indiana should have enough firepower to put Connecticut under pressure early. For the Sun, the path is more difficult but not impossible. They need to slow the pace, limit turnovers, and make the Fever work in the half court. They need Morrow active on the boards, Miller contributing offensively, and the rest of the rotation finding ways to score without forcing bad shots. Connecticut also needs to keep Indiana away from easy transition points. If Clark gets the Fever running, the Sun defense could be in trouble. The first quarter will be important. If Indiana starts strong, Connecticut may struggle to climb back. But if the Sun keep the game close early and make it physical, pressure could shift back toward the Fever. Indiana has had moments where it lets teams hang around, and Connecticut will be looking for exactly that kind of opening. The Sun may be 2-12, but a home game against a high-profile opponent gives them motivation. They would love to spoil Indiana's momentum and pick up a confidence-building win. Still, the Fever should enter this matchup as the team with the advantage. They have the better record, the stronger offense, the hotter star duo, and more recent success. Clark and Boston are playing with growing chemistry, and Mitchell's scoring gives Indiana another weapon. If the Fever stay focused, they should be able to create separation. The biggest thing to watch is whether Indiana can defend consistently. Scoring has not been the problem. The Fever are averaging over 90 points per game, and their recent offensive numbers are strong. The issue is whether they can prevent opponents from making big runs. Against a struggling Connecticut offense, this is the perfect chance to tighten that up. If Indiana can hold the Sun below their average and control the glass, the Fever should be in position to win comfortably. For Clark, this game is another opportunity to continue her strong season as both a scorer and playmaker. For Boston, it is a chance to follow up her 34-point performance and prove that Indiana's inside-out formula can work game after game. For Mitchell, it is another chance to keep her scoring rhythm alive. And for the Fever as a whole, it is a chance to turn a 7-5 start into something more stable. The Sun are trying to stop a 4-game losing streak. The Fever are trying to continue building momentum. That contrast gives the game its main tension. Connecticut is desperate for a win, while Indiana is trying to avoid the kind of slip-up that can slow a team's progress. Games like this may not always get the same attention as rivalry matchups, but they matter in the standings, especially in conference play. If Indiana wants to be viewed as a serious Eastern Conference threat, this is the kind of game it needs to win. Not just because Connecticut is struggling, but because the Fever have the tools to control it. They have the star power, the scoring, and the momentum. Now, they need the discipline. Saturday night in Uncasville will show whether Indiana can take another step forward. The Fever are coming in after a thrilling overtime win, powered by Aaliyah Boston's 34 points and the continued brilliance of Caitlin Clark. The Sun are coming in looking for answers, trying to stop the slide and find something positive in a difficult season. The numbers favor Indiana, but the Fever still have to prove it on the floor. If Clark controls the pace, Boston owns the paint, and Mitchell keeps providing efficient scoring, Indiana should have the upper hand. If Connecticut can slow the game, rebound well, and turn defensive stops into points, the Sun can make it interesting. But based on recent form, the Fever have the better path. For Indiana, this is about stacking wins, cleaning up mistakes, and showing that the team is growing into something more consistent. For Connecticut, it is about pride, urgency, and trying to protect home court. And for WNBA fans, it is another chance to watch one of the league's most talked about teams continue its climb.